And I know we ran through those fights pretty quickly. And the reason for that is because I wanted to spend the most time talking about this main event. All right. So this main event obviously is Cory Sandhagen versus TJ Dillashaw. And just to set up why this fight is so important. So for those of you that may not know, TJ Dillashaw used to be the champion at bantamweight. He won the title in a huge, grudge match with Cody Garbrandt. There we go. So TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt. This fight was, the fight. These guys were former teammates. They hated each other, and all of that showed in that fight. TJ Dillashaw getting a chance to not only win the title, but also being able to defend it against Garbrandt and, prove that he is the bigger man. Now, back when a couple years ago when Dillashaw was the champ, back then, champ was a huge thing to be able to do. It was all the rise. Everybody who had the ability to be champ was trying to be champ. And Dillashaw tried to do the same thing by moving down to fight Henry Cejudo for the title. Now, Cejudo ended up waxing him, finishing him in a matter of minutes in the first round. But what came out after that was a dirty urine test, and he was actually popped for EPO with USADA, right? So doing that is obviously terrible. That obviously is a performance enhancer. No way around it. It's not something that you could just say, oh, by accident, I ingested. That was definitely something calculated, and it was a pretty hefty suspension. We haven't seen Dillashaw there for 2 years. So Dillashaw never lost the belt. He actually was stripped because of the suspension, and he hasn't been active for 2 years. In that time, Sandhagen has become one of the top bantamweights, right? His last 3 fights have been extremely exciting. One of them, obviously, he dropped being, submitted by Aljo. That was going to be that was actually a #1 contenders fight, which is why Aljo went and fought for the title against Jan. But since then, Sandhagen has put together a streak, and not just beating people with big names, but beating people with big names in devastating factor. So he had, one of the sickest finishes with, I believe it was Morales, which was just devastating. It looked scary. Morales was out on his feet, fell to the ground really, really hard, came back to fight Frankie Edgar, and ended up knocking him out with the flying knee. So Sandhagen has fought 3 of the top bantamweights back to back in his last 3 fights, and decisively has won 2, and lost 1 obviously to Aljamain Sterling, but feels like he could get that one back. And really, because of how Sandhagen has defeated his last 2 victories, he's already the #1 contender after whenever the settled fight between Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan is for the title. He could have just waited and he would be the next guy up just because of what he's already done. But for him to accept this fight against Dillashaw shows me the kind of heart and mentality that a guy like Sandhagen has. He is not afraid. It reminds me a lot of that mentality that Dustin Poirier is having right now, where he's like, look, I believe I'm the best fighter in this division, so I'll fight anybody. And if I am who I believe that I am, I'll beat them. And eventually I'll get my title shot, and eventually I'll prove that I am the champion. And that's exactly what Sandhagen's doing. This is not an easy fight. TJ Dillashaw is a beast. He's a savage. The last time we saw him in the ring at bantamweight, he was waxing dudes. And he has a very herky-jerky style, very unorthodox type fighter, and he's a killer. He's not going in there to be friends with anybody. He's going in there to finish fights. And he's a tough guy to be able to figure out his timing. And this isn't an easy fight. But for me, the reason why I believe Sandhagen is going to win this is because Sandhagen has been active against killers. And Dillashaw has not been fighting for the last 2 years. So in my estimation, I'm always going to pick the more active fighter, especially one that's going through the basically like the guillotine at bantamweight. And like I said, I believe bantamweight is the toughest division in this in the UFC at this time. So for Sandhagen to have the type of streak that he had, that he's having, to come into this fight against Dillashaw, I just think this is a tough fight for Dillashaw to come back to. He's not. This isn't a warm-up fight, man. If Dillashaw wins this fight, he deserves to be the #1 contender and deserves to fight whoever wins out of Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan. So I get why, why Dillashaw would do this. Is basically like jumping the line, because if you do beat Sandhagen, which obviously Dillashaw believes he can do, he's right there next in line to be able to fight for the title. But I'm drawing a lot of similarities between the last Poirier and Conor fight to this fight. You know, we obviously have the bigger star and the bigger name in Dillashaw, just like Conor was to Poirier. But Poirier was going through the gauntlet in the toughest division at the time, which is lightweight. And he was beating everybody. The only person he's lost to at 155 in the last 5 years is Khabib. And everybody loses to Khabib. And now looking back, you look at that fight, and for the prime level that Khabib was at, the person that gave him the most fight, in my estimation, is Poirier. Poirier had him in the most danger of anybody actually in Khabib that I've seen Khabib fight with the guillotine. Khabib even admitted that was a pretty it was pretty deep, but obviously Khabib and was able to get out of it. And because of being more active, developing your skills to the point that that Poirier was able to do, he went in and pretty much dominated Conor. Obviously, Conor snapped his leg, which ended the fight, but it was trending in the direction that Poirier is winning that. I believe Sandhagen is Poirier in this example, and Dillashaw is going to be Conor. Dillashaw just hasn't been active, and no matter how hard you train, no matter how hard you spar, there's just not the same level of aggression and that same feel that is being in that octagon and fighting, the best of the best. And Dillashaw is going to have to deal with the mental, right? So he already showed weakness in taking the banned substance, taking EPO, taking a performance enhancer, because he feel like he needed that edge to fight Cejudo. Whatever his excuse is, it boils down to a mentality thing, thinking you needed to cheat to be able to compete. And now he's going to be going in as, one of the most hated fighters, right? The fans aren't going to be happy with the guy that, blatantly cheated, especially to win a title. And I believe Sandhagen is a fan favorite. So is TJ Dillashaw going to come in with the right mentality? Is he going to be able to have, the timing, and is he going to be able to just, come in and contend with the guy like with Sandhagen? Because Sandhagen is a fast starter. It's not somebody who's going to ease into the fight. He's going to go and try to do something crazy to finish this fight and finish this fight early. And if Dillashaw isn't on his P's and Q's, this once again could be a fight that is finished early. However, I do believe Dillashaw is better than the last 2 fights that Sandhagen has. So I don't think these are going to be, a first-round finish. I do think this could get into the 3rd or 4th round. But I do believe that Sandhagen is going to win this, either stopping by some kind of either a TKO or some kind of submission, and I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere in that 3rd or 4th round. I don't think this fight's going to go the distance, but I do believe Sandhagen is going to take this and really solidify himself as the #1 contender in the bantamweight division. So there you have it, guys. There is my take on UFC Vegas 32, Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. I'm picking Sandhagen to take this bout by TKO in the 3rd or 4th round. Like I said, there's a ton of great fights to pay attention to in this card. So make sure you tune in. Until next time, guys, keep it so real.